All right, guys, we are live. I wanted to give you a pre-apology. I'm in this apartment complex waiting for my house to be built, and they decided to mow all the grass in the front here. So if you hear that in the background, my apologies. But regardless, we want to get started on time, so we're going to do that. So we got the main page here on BotJock. First thing I want to do, guys, today is I'm going to go into account. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here, and we're going to take a look at the economic events calendar inside BotJock, and you can see not really a ton going on today. There's really nothing that's three head, and then we can kind of take a glimpse into to tomorrow. Some decent meetings in there that could. It seems like we're gonna get some more news tomorrow. Yeah, we have net home sales, a lot more tomorrow. So today, it doesn't mean we're not gonna have some volatility today. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have some volatility today. What it's going to mean is that, there's not a lot of news that's going to push it today. So anything that's pushed today is going to be a setup for the anticipatory move for tomorrow. So it's typically how that plays out. So now that we know that, we don't have to worry too much about the news necessarily today, let's take a look at the overall market. I did send out the daily insight. If you're in the community, you guys can follow along through that, but I'm just going to touch briefly on it. Since we're already on the SPY, we'll talk about that a little bit. So the key points that we pointed out here on the gap fill, you can see this one's already kind of playing out. My anticipatory read is, when we're following our and or if scenario, the thing that's sticking out to me here is we easily could come up and create a double top of sorts. If we cannot break this high here, or even if we break it a little bit and reject off of here, the bearish scenario is if we reject hard enough and then come down and reject the neckline, then it's almost certain that we're going to come down and get this gap fill. So you could play this two ways. You could take your put anywhere up in this range here and ride that down with the stop loss just above these trend lines. And then if you do that, try to close it around here, because it's not guaranteed this is going to break, right? And then you could take a rescalp entry off that retest. Now the bullish scenario today, right? Because I still do think that we have some more push that we can do upward. Would be that we do this and then have this come down like this and create just kind of like a higher low, right? Like this, forming into a double bottom of sort, right? Kind of at the peak there, but we need some momentum to break this, not only this resistance line at 421, but this upper trend line, which was off the larger time from the daily. If we don't get enough momentum or enough bullish type pattern, like a bull flag or on the lower time frames, or bullish pennant, something that is enough of a pattern to gain momentum to push it past this, then it's going to be a really difficult press. Now, if we push past like that, right, and we start to just range like this, right, like this, and any form of a bullish type pattern breaks and we come down and retest this, it's likely to just absolutely go just nuts. I mean, we can go as high as 429 as like the next stop, right? So my end or if scenario, if you're trading the SPY today, although I don't believe that this is going to hold right away on the first attempt, I think we'll have a pullback. So in the room, I'll likely try to scalp a little bit on the pullback retest here. Y'all have to remember, if you when in doubt, zoom out, right? We can still be bullish, and we can come back as low as we can come into, if you take a line here, right, and you kind of come through there, you can see these two line up almost perfectly, right? So aside from here, which is not it's not viable, right, because you did have a lot of resistance in here that was trying to act instead of support, right? So we could literally see a double top, a pullback all the way down here to around 412, 413 before an explosive move north, right? Which would also kind of verify what I said needed to happen, which is give a kind of a squeeze within this area here, right? Now, if we do happen to get some kind of bullish news like the debt ceiling, right, that's going to be the biggest news that's going to either tank us or pump us, right? And that pushes it through here. Then anything above this teal line, if we're holding support, keyword if we're holding support, don't chase candles. then I would stay call because it's likely going to go further, and it's going to do it in an explosive way. Anything around this 429 and for damn sure anything around this 433, I will not be taking calls. Anything in there is just, you're absolutely nuts. Now, if you take this, the 200 EMA that's coming across on the 1 hour, we have not retested this since 409, right? So it's interesting because if this were to kind of do this, right, and then come down, the 200 AMA is going to kind of line up somewhat with this trend line here. So I would be very cautious taking any kind of puts here because this could be the next explosive move up, kind of like we had here, kind of like we had here. So just trade it accordingly. We'll talk more about it in the room today. So SPX. I'll do this other chart here. You can see the SPX has got a lot of resistance here around that 4190 range or so. So you can see we're actually broke above it. So this is a key area because if we hold above this, right, and we can continue to get that momentum to where we get that kind of down over up situation, I would look for the next rejection. I would take something micro if we're scalping this as those two peaks like that. A push north would just reject right off of that, right? And then that could cause a really big fall there. And if you went to a daily time frame or something, it would almost be like a kind of a larger double top there. This fall here we saw because we did have our divergence coming. As of now, I mean, it's really the RSI is really just not doing a whole lot there. So that's kind of the range, and just keep an eye on it with what we do with the SPY as well. But if you zoom out at the end of the day, guys, we still are yet to fill this gap. My anticipation was to come down to about the 39.88 or so before the gap fill, and we can do that and still be super bullish, right? Because we're creating that higher low than this area, right? So we can have a crash down range here and then have another explosive move up. And then if I'm going to read that explosive move up over time, I'm going to take something like this, right, where you line up these peaks here, and that explosive move is going to pull you up into this range here. So that we can, this is where people get confused, the difference between day trading or long-term investing and scalping. People might say, guys, we're super bullish, and you might hear us say in the room, guys, we're short-term bearish. Both can be right, because we can be bearish and overall be bullish, right? To be overall bearish on the market or set up for a crash, that's me telling you we're coming down here and creating a lower low, like the economy is about to just absolutely collapse, right? Which and that's the confusion sometimes people get as new traders, is that they get confused when you got one group telling you we're bearish, one saying we're bullish, news is saying we're bearish, this news is saying we're bullish. It just depends what time frame you're trading on, right? So you need to really understand the differences of your trading strategy to really know kind of how to interpret that. So on the Dixie, guys, y'all know we've been following this rounded bottom since way back here. It curled up just like we thought. The only thing I kind of put in here, guys, is it didn't shock me that we rejected off of this line here, because this was, if you zoom out here on the 1 hour, you have what was once support is acting as resistance. The thing you want to watch here is, if we get a retest down here on this EMA, right, and then we get an explosive move forward, it's kind of it's an interesting setup, because you could be setting up for that cup and handle, right, which would give you that explosive move up to this trend line, which is very possible, if not even likely, right? Because we did the similar thing here, right, where we pulled back and exploded up. But be very careful of the fake out, because if we do end up coming up into this area and we start to lose steam, and we start to lose that steam, right, to invalidate that handle, now you flipped into probably a larger time frame double top, right, after a push north. And then you're going to see an up, a down, a retest, and then a fall all the way down to here. And obviously it's an inverse to the market. So just keep a close eye on what the Dixie is going to do this week, because I know we will be in the room when we're trading. So I'm not going to do the TA necessarily on the tech stocks, but you can see overall, Apple's pre is down. You got Microsoft pre is up. You got Google's pre is up. And you got Amazon pre is up. So If you're looking to take any kind of Apple trades, I guess I'll tell you your entry for some form of a call would be support found over here. If we open up here, you're likely to get a continuation pullback. You have known support here, known support on the trend line. You can take a nice little call scalp there. So if you break that trend line and acts as resistance, I would not touch that call. Then let's take a look. This one's kind of got. Let me mute the zone tracker here. So this is what we talked about in the room. On the 1 hour, I had said be careful of the temporary pullback for this gap fill, which it looked like it tried to do and it still is doing, and then it could revert up here, breaking the POC. This is what we talked about in the daily insight, is that this point of control is going to be really huge to watch. If we flip this point of control, you're going to likely see a shoulder, head, shoulder flip, which would be the neckline, and then that would be explosive north. Now, doesn't mean we're going to the moon, right? I mean, our explosive north could just be a simple reclaim of this side over here, or even as high as up here. It could just be a retest of 27.2 or so. So as far as Bitcoin goes, guys, my TA hasn't changed on that. I mean, we're just kind of going sideways. I still believe we're going to at some point hit this low of 25.2. We may even come down as low as this line here, which is the 23.178. Those are the two lows and highs that I have. We easily could come up and retest this area of 29.5. I would not be surprised if we don't see it come over here. We come down, hit this area here, gain some crazy support, and then absolutely just explode back up to retest that. Because think about it, we will have completed this gap fill, right, by touching this, and then we come back up to complete this gap fill by touching this. So that's kind of the range that I'm going to play. If you're marking an upper or lower, my absolute lower is 23, my short-term lower is 25.2, and my upper is like 29.5. In order for us to come back and retest, this 31 range, we'd have to flip this, which I'm not certain that it will do. You can also take kind of like if you're scalping, right, you can take this 2 peak here. This would be probably our first rejection, which coincides to some resistance and support found in this area. So that would be kind of our first stop where it would boom, reject, and then we would need to find support where once was resistance, and then that would break north up to there. But if none of that happens and we continue to just lose steam and stay below this POC, then it's just going to be a bleed all the way down to here. This line will be crucial. If we get a nasty bounce off of this, then boom, what we just said is playing out. If we break below this and it just cannot break back above it, because this is a massive line. If you go to the 4 hour and further, not only this side, let's go to the 6 hour. You can see this side, right? It's just was huge resistance. So it's going to be very interesting, because if we hold it as huge support, we're going like, I'm only running longs at my ATAs all the way up, right? And then if we break below that and we hold it as resistance, it's now flipped back to resistance, and the market's in trouble. So we're coming back to this white line, almost certain. Ethereum, I'm not gonna touch on too long, but I will just kind of say I'm gonna mute the zone tracker so we can see it a little better here. So you can see this is the red line, so that we've been kind of following. It's kind of a weird line, right? Because it's not my normal trend line. It goes through a lot of candles, but there's a lot of validity to the resistance that it has, as well as different support and explosive moves like we talked about before. So I could almost, see a push up to 1850 happening before we reject down pretty hard. Y'all know that my lower line here is around 14. My first stop for it was, I think, 1680 is what I was calling, and so that's kind of the range that I would play with Ethereum. In order for us to get back to this 2000 range, we would have to flip this like 1860 range and find support. Probably a little higher even, because if you look at these previous resistance levels, 1880. So I would feel more confident if we were to flip this 1880 and then kind of hold as support, and then we're likely to get that explosive move north. So we're about 13 minutes in. Let's jump into our ATAs, because we have a lot of them to do. So y'all know I turned on a bunch. We have ETH. This is part of the automated trading session, guys, if you're new to the channel. As you guys know, we trade options in our room, and then most of my crypto is traded through my automation. So I have Ethereum long short, LTC long short, Matic long, Sol long short, and XRP short. So let's get into that. I'm not expecting the ones that were stuck to get out because we just did exactly what I thought we would do, which is nothing. So it looks like the short though is actually not too bad. So the short's been doing pretty well. 14 days, $156, guys. This is on a $5,000 account, so it's not super massive. This is one pair, one direction, and half a month. So, and you only need one ATA to do this. You don't. Some people get confused. I just want to touch on this because people ask. They get confused and they say, "Well, yeah, but you're running 8 ATAs, so that I have to pay all this money a month." No, you don't. This all is one ATA. Notice it's Gambit. I'm running one ATA. You can run up to 8 pairs on one ATA, so which you can do for the $99 a month. So which you can see it already paid for, and then some. So we are short. Let's just take a quick look at the settings. We do have one DCA. There's not a second DCA, so we are not going to add a second DCA because it's pretty much. I mean, it's already green, guys. It's past the white line. It's the trade itself's green, so I have no reason to touch it. Long. So it looks like my long, interesting. Let's see. Let me take a look at this because remember we added our second DCA, guys. We might have got out of this sucker. I didn't even look at this at all throughout the whole weekend. Let's see where we did this here. Tuesday. Yeah, it looks like it. Looks like we got out of that. So it ended up. It kept. Trading along. So we're back. We're back doing well on that. So I'm not gonna touch the long. Let's see where the settings are. I'm gonna actually. So some people have asked about adding DCAs. Some people have asked about removing DCAs. If you're trying to remove the DCA, all you simply have to do is uncheck the DCA. Like that, make sure it doesn't change any of your existing trades, and then we're gonna take the ETH long and we're gonna just add our alert back like this. ATA Gambit ETH long. Anytime you make a change in here, you always have to rechange that alert. So cool. So we're not gonna touch ETH. We're good. We'll let that thing roll out there. All right. Now we're gonna go into the next one, LTC. Let's see how our LTC is doing. So our LTC, you can see, is still stuck both short and long. It looks like you can see. Remember, we left it like this last time. This was pretty much the weekend. It didn't do anything. We almost got out of our long, actually. It was pretty close. So we're square in the middle. The beauty is we have our second DCA on our short, and we have one DCA on our long. And so honestly, it's probably better for us if we actually tank, because that would get us out of our short. We'll second DCA our long and pull that down. So the plan for LTC right now is we have not initiated enough movement to create any other plan than we've already put in place. So if you're running LTC, sit tight. If you've been running it since then. Let's see, Matic. Let's take a look at our Matic one. So Matic is in a sell here. It looks like it did get stuck a little bit through the weekend, guys. I'm going to stop Matic, guys, if you guys are following along, because we did sell it. I'm going to scale back. I like to overextend on the weekends, but I like to see what the market's going to do Mondays and Tuesdays before I really start to push my limits again. So we're going to take a look at XRP next, because if you are running Matic, we did sell at this point. It did get out. Didn't really do a whole lot for me, so I'm not going to push that one right now. I'm going to load XRP up here, and we pretty much went sideways. So shorts did well. Look at 3 days, we made $16, not a ton, right? We're currently in a short, so what I'm going to do is, guys, I'm going to show you, actually, this thing may actually close by the time we're by the time we're done here. Let's come back to XRP. Let's save this one right now. If this one closes, I may stop that one. If not, I'll show you guys how to add the existing one. Last one is Sol. So far, guys, we went pretty overextended, and we've done pretty well. Nothing crazy, right? So we are running both long and short on Sol. Looks like Sol made $15 3 days, all automated. It's in a short right now. Did DCA one time. It's really close to the entry, so I'm not even concerned about it. The settings haven't changed. It's still DCA one time there. Longs, it looks like we got stuck in a long. Let's see, when did this happen? We even DCA. Oh, that's right, we were already stuck in the long, guys. Remember, we added the DCA 2 on that, so it just hasn't got out yet. It'd have to come all the way to 2059, which is not too bad. If you go to the 1 hour here, we just have to reclaim this area here. We are here in an area that is known support, which we did get a little bit of a bounce. So we'll see where that one goes. So I'm not going to touch the Sol longs. So we'll let that one go. We are DCA 2 into it. So look at how powerful we set up that setting. We moved our entry from here all the way down to here through this DCA. So far, we didn't get the lowest peak. If y'all remember, I had it below this line on my original TA, and then I moved it above this line just to kind of give it a better chance, and I probably should have left it here, right? We would have had our entry a little closer to there, but hindsight's a beautiful thing, right? So we'll go ahead and leave that alone here. What I want to do is, it was mentioned in my last, 9 minutes here, and we'll keep an eye on what XRP does. I'm going to touch on how to add an existing trade, and how to add a DCA to that existing trade, right? So let's go ahead and actually a good example would be XRP, because we want to add an existing trade here, but I also let's say I want to add more DCAs. The process is extremely simple, guys, and you're going to find it's the same exact one. Again, if I want to turn XRP to an existing trade, I simply highlight over the candle that the buy is at. So you see it's on Monday the 22nd at 7:13 a.m. So you're going to remember Monday the 22nd at 7:13 a.m. All I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to Monday the 22nd at 7. Now, this is the part people forget. Go 1 minute back. Then I'm going to change this to enable existing trade. I didn't touch anything else. All I've done is I converted it to an existing trade. That's it. Now, that puts this buy at the same exact spot, C713. The reason why you have to do 1 minute before is because your time you're putting is the time you're closing the candle. You still need one candle after to allow it to enter a trade, right? So you always do 1 minute before. So now, I have done nothing else, and this is only going to trade one time. The moment this closes, it will never trade again, right? Somebody had asked me, well, how do I add a DCA? Let's say you're already, the process, even though I'm not in a DCA, the process is still the same. So let's say I want to, I know that the DCA is going to DCA here. Let's even use an example as if you already have a DCA right here, the process is still the same. All you're going to do is you come over, you add your second DCA like that. Now, this is the part you want to watch. If by adding your second DCA, it auto throws your second DCA because the candles have already reached that point, it's okay. You just can't have it there. You have to move this up. You have no choice. So you'll have to move this to like 5%, or you'll have to move it to like 7%. You have to move it as high as it needs to go until it reaches a candle that has not been reached. Because if you don't, right, then what's going to happen is it's going to mess up what has already existing happened, right? And you can see how even me doing this, right, adding 7%, somewhere in the code, there's pre-trades that, said that it already got out, right? So it kind of started to change it or screw it up. It typically won't happen on an existing one because we have closed our candle. So the code, once the purpose of this yellow kind of triangle is that is your close. That is where we're stopped. The code doesn't care about anything that happened before or after that point, setting wise, because you've already closed your candle here. It's just going to care about what happened after. So all you have to, the only thing you need to make sure is you need to make sure that when you have your year, your date, and your month, and your hour, right, do the 1 minute before, make sure it says enable existing trade, and then just modify your DCA to wherever you want. And that's based on this white line. So like if, let's say you guys have seen me do this before. Let's say I don't want it to DCA here. I'm like, man, there's news coming out. I want to push this up here. It's a simple modification, guys, of modifying this percent. So I just change it to 3. The percent is a percentage based on price movement from your entry. So if you took 0.461 times 3%, it'll give you a value. You add that back into your open. That's how the calculation is figuring out how to move it up here. And so now you can see it moved the line up here. Just the only thing to keep in mind, guys, I caution you, if you're making an edit and it's really close to profit, don't delete your original alert, right? Because if you delete your original alert, it may get out and then you're gonna have to reset up everything, right? So keep your original alert there. We have not changed the original trade. We have not modified anything. We've only told the code, hey, make this an existing one. An existing trade we purposely put in the code where it will only make one trade. So when it closes this in profit, it's done. And that's why we set that up, because we want you to be comfortable setting this up. So now if I were to say, okay, just following through with this, right, 0.9, because I'm good with the default, that puts the DCA. Now it doesn't mean it's DCAing right at this level. It means it needs this is like a, think of it like ones and zeros, like computers read, right? This is a no zone. It is impossible for it to DCA until it crosses this threshold. Now this is like that 0 turns to a 1 or 1 turns to a 0, right? Where it flips the code and says, okay, you can DCA, but only if you see an opportunity, right? So that's why sometimes you might see your ATA pump all the way up to here and then DCA, which is why it makes it so much more powerful than just like a limit order, right? Because it can actually think, it can read the analysis, but this is like green light go. It just allows it to. So now that I have all my changes made, I've made my DCA, where I want. I have my existing trade. I know it. That's why it's teal. Anything teal is existing because we want you guys to understand that color. It's bouncing off the profit, but it hasn't quite closed it yet. I'm good. I'm ready to set up. I'm ready to make this change, right? So all I have to do to make the change is I go to the XRP alert. You want to do it fairly quickly, right? Because you don't want to have that close out while you're waiting. I hit alert. I always drag it over just to make sure it didn't close out while I'm setting it. ATA, Gambit, XRP short, and I always do existing or exist, something to tell you when you create this alert, right, that the order itself is existing. So I know that when tomorrow, I don't have to think about this, guys. Tomorrow, because I build my to-do list like on my alerts, all I have to do is when I flip through this, oh, XRP we did an existing, cool, and I go to it, oh, it got out, sweet, delete the alert, and you're done with it, right? But the beauty of XRP now is, in my mind, I don't have to worry about XRP, because I can even, guys, let me show you this too, and I think I already had it. Yeah, see, we already had a stop loss set at 7%, right? So if you come down here, let's see where that is. I believe it's probably like right here on this line. So basically what two things are going to happen is A, it's going to pump up, it's going to hit this line and it's going to stop me out, or B, it's going to come down and it's going to close out in profit, right? It will only DCA one time, so it's not going to be a massive loss if XRP goes parabolic. And the purpose we set up all of these safety procedures and precautions is we want you to not stress. We don't want you like always having to stare at your screen, right? Trust what you set up, trust what you did, and hopefully that explains, a little bit more on that setting up those things. And guys, if you're watching this and you're not, I strongly encourage you, if you can't join these huddles live every day, you're at least watching the video. It's 15 minutes. It's 30 minutes for the video. If you don't care about the market update, because all you care about is I'm going to follow Nick on his ATA, you can fast forward through and you can watch just the rest of that video, right? And so if you go here, you can see under community events, this is where you go, right? Just bajak.com. Every single huddle I do, every single one is here. So put in the time that it takes, because we have done everything in our power as a company and as a community to minimize the time that it impedes on your life to make modifications, changes, or edit the market. But you don't want to be that person, right? That you're continuously asking questions that we literally cover in the huddle, that we literally record for you every day, that you could literally find in a 15-minute stretch of video. I don't mind answering questions. I love it. I want to be there for you guys, but please just put the time in as well for yourself, because it's going to help you out a lot. And I get so many people that are running these ATAs, and they'll say, oh man, I should have followed you because all this stuff is stuck, and I'm like, why are you in a long? All my ATAs are short. Oh, well, I didn't get time to watch the huddle. Well, that 15 minutes that you could have watched the huddle would have saved you probably thousands of dollars. So I don't know. It seems like a pretty good investment for time for you to do. So I do have 9 o'clock. I like to stay fairly prompt, guys. We're going to keep this video to 30 minutes. I hope that helps. If you guys want to come in, please join us to trade. Today's Monday. We will be trading options. Us as a community, we are typically, we have shifted over to trading mostly options and stocks. And we let our automated trading trade the crypto side. It's a lot better because the ATAs don't have any emotion, right? Which is usually when people get wrecked, they get emotional about their trades. So come on in, hang out with us. You guys can come hang out for free. Like I said, the only time you need to pay is when you want to run the memberships, so or run the products, run the ATAs themselves. And as you can see from most of the stuff that I've shown, right? I mean, they pay for themselves. So if you run them properly. So I hope you guys join us, and I'm going to go ahead and